I'll call this meeting of the school committee for the city of Lewiston, Maine to order for Monday, May 9th, 2022. Would everyone join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. What I would like to do right now, if we could, take a moment of silence in memory of a student who passed away on April 19th. Her name was Emmy Rolls. She's 16 years old, and she died of a rare form of leukemia. It's right during April school vacation. I'd like to take a moment of silence if we could. Thank you, everyone. We'll now do school committee member introductions. We'll start with Ms. Paquette.
Superintendent.
Megan Parks at large.
Sorry, I'm losing my voice, guys. It's coming back though. Janet Poden, Ward 2.
Elizabeth Eames, Ward 3.
Jake Langley, Superintendent.
Bruce Damon, Ward 1.
Tanya Whitlow, Ward 4. Can you hear me now? Okay.
Hola.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Are there any items that members of the committee would want to remove from the consent agenda? If there are any, we would set them aside and discuss them individually later. Are there any items? Seeing none, the consent agenda is adopted. The next item is item 4, is public input. Members of the public may address the school committee for up to 3 minutes on non-agenda items now and on agenda items later. Comments that pertain to staff, personal matters, or a student issue should be directed to the superintendent or the appropriate staff member of Lewiston Public Schools. Public comments shall be directed to the school committee, be brief, not repetitive, and related to the matter at hand. Please start by stating your name and address and affiliation with the Lewiston Public Schools. Is there anyone in attendance that would like to address the committee? Seeing none, I'll close the public comment. Item number 5 of the agenda is to recognize Lewiston Public School staff. I believe this goes to Mr. Langless.
So we have a few things tonight. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Ms. Winslow, would you mind coming up to introduce your fabulous group of folks?
Good evening, everyone. I have several students here and I have several staff members. And I do have to admit that I tricked some staff members just a little bit into coming. I knew that if I really put it upon the students that I would get them to come here without letting them know that they were really coming to be recognized as well. So I would first like to call out Michelle Dudham, and live streaming right now we have Sadie Rouillard. These two ladies were very instrumental in starting our first equity team committee They have worked tirelessly and diligently in getting our equity team up and running at Farwell. They're super dedicated and super committed to making sure this team meets weekly, and they meet with bi-weekly, and they meet with me to make sure that I stay on top of what I need to do. And I really appreciate that. So thank you both very much. I really appreciate you. And Sadie is not feeling well. She's not able to be here, but I know she's watching. So Sadie, I really appreciate everything you do as well. Thank you very much. Yes. Stand with that. And in addition to our equity team, we have 2 new teachers to Farwell who decided that they're members of our equity team. They wanted to go above and beyond being members of the equity team. We have Miss Leah Boucher and Miss Samantha Payne. Please come on up. These 2 ladies decided that they wanted to start Farwell's first civil rights team. And they have several, maybe up to 30 students each Thursday morning. They come in an hour early, 7:20 in the morning. They meet with students on Thursday morning, and they talk all things civil rights, from gender equality to race, sexual orientation, everything, you name it. And it's such rich discussions. They talk to me about what they talk about, and I am in awe at the conversations that these ladies have with our students. So I want you to know that I really appreciate you and everything you've brought to Farwell. Thank you very much. Come on up. So I also wanted to share something really amazing that we did a few weeks ago. In April, Sam and Leah brought 9 girls to a girls rock conference. And that's what these ladies over here are here to share with you. I will hand the microphone over to them and let them share their experiences with you.
So out of our 9 students we brought to the Girls Rock Conference, we have 5 here to represent the group that attended. We would like those girls to come on up right now, and they wrote something to share with you about their experience and why they think others should continue to represent Lewiston at this important conference. Yeah. Do you want to introduce them? Or do you want me to?
I can do my girls.
Okay.
So I have 2 of my friends from my class, Caitlin Brochu, she's a 5th grader, and I have Layla Marquis. Layla, give a wave. Caitlin, give a wave. And then Miss Boucher has some students here as well.
So I have 3 of my 4th graders who are in my class and also part of the civil rights team. I have Esme Robley right there. She's in 4th grade. I have Tegan Caldero, 4th grade, and Jody Ineza, 4th grade. All right, girls, you want to come up and take it away?
Good evening, school board and community members. We attended the Girls Rock Conference in Portland on Wednesday, April 13th, 2022, representing the Farwell Civil Rights Team.
While there, we learned about mental health, periods, self-esteem, self-expression through the arts, queer history, being queer in Maine, being a good ally, and what it means to cause a good ruckus. We met members of the Maine Feminist Action Board, all high schoolers from Maine who planned and ran the entire conference.
We learned new things that made us better and more empathetic people, such as queer history and Indigenous people, and how colonizers negatively impact our cultures, that we should not compare ourselves to and our bodies to others on social media, and how to regulate our emotions when experiencing anxiety or panic. We also learned how to make calming kits for ourselves, how to make period bags for emergencies, how to be kind and caring people to those in minority groups, and how to positively express yourself through art projects.
We think that
We think students should continue to attend this yearly conference. It's extremely educational. You get to express yourself without being judged. You meet new people from all over Maine. And most importantly, it helps those who attend to better understand experiences of others so everyone can have more empathy.
Thank you for listening to our experience. We hope Lewiston will continue to send students to this amazing conference. Sincerely, members of the Farwell Civil Rights Team.
And in summary, I just have to say that that's why we do what we do. Thank you, everyone.
Ms. Scott.
Thank you. I would just like to thank those young ladies. As a almost 54-year-old woman that has been known to cause a ruckus in her life and has been a pretty loud advocate for our community, I cannot tell you how proud I am. And every single one of you, bravo, good job.
Ms. Whitlow.
Yeah. So I think teaching young women to talk about the things that they just spoke about is hard for, for us adults to talk about those things. So might be the first time I've heard of a period bag, but I think that's really cool. And I look forward to hearing more about what you ladies do. That's great.
Great job, all of you. Thank you for representing us well. We'll make sure that the superintendent's office gets a letter of recognition to each one of you. Okay, so be looking for that in the mail from Ms. Winslow. We'll help get those out to you. Next up, we have Ms. Crafts, if you wouldn't mind coming up.
All right, so I would like to recognize two individuals this evening, Christy Hune and Kate Waite. Can you please come up? So I'll start with Christy. Christy is a first-year teacher in the FLS classroom at LHS. Prior to this year, she served as an ed tech in the same classroom. Being a first-year teacher is not easy, not to mention that both teachers in the program this year are brand new. Having been in the building longer, Christy stepped up in a way to help the other teacher out throughout this school year. She has handled several different changes this year as well. And when I say changes, I mean big changes. Since the start of the school year, there have been a change in the physical classroom space of FLS. They've moved rooms a time or two in October. Numerous staff changes, including a teacher that left and a new teacher that came on board, a new BCBA. She went a period of time without a BCBA, a new special education director that just happened to know the building and knew how to make changes. And so there was changes that came with that, and just changes in the programming format for her students. Not to mention there have been some really challenging behaviors in the classroom. There have been many rough and emotional days this year for Christy, but she continues to smile and carry on in order to do what is in the best interest of her students, despite the challenges that have been thrown her way. Kate Waite joined us in March this year. She is an experienced BCBA, which stands for Board Certified Behavioral Analyst, that has worked in the Lewiston Auburn area for many years and came to us. We are very lucky to have her. She joined us in a year of upheaval, just like Christy, with the difference being that she has never worked for LPS before. It's extremely hard to start mid-year in such a large district and building when you are not used to the massiveness that it brings. I also started mid-year, and I know that it is not easy when you can't even find your way around the building because you simply are not used to having to navigate such a large place, and you really have no idea where you're going, I'm sure. Kate works on the same cases that Christy does, and there have been many times when I've had to ask both of them to switch gears and try something new in order to avoid a pitfall. Every time that I have reached out to either of them, they have been more than willing to drop whatever they were doing to help me out in the best interest of the student. They have rewrote programming, switched case management, gone on tours to potential programs, even took me on a trip last Friday to see a program. It is for all of these reasons and many more that I want to recognize both Christy and Kate this evening. The special education department is lucky to have you both. Thank you for all that you do.
Sorry, too many Ks.
So the last but not least is a not yet. So Dave is coming back from an appointment he had. So if he makes it back, I would like the chair's permission to stop whatever we're doing, as long as it's reasonable, and recognize him. If not this time, then we'll find a way to do it another time. But his days are counting down. Trust me, he knows. So Lucas, if he comes in, just play smooth.
He's not watching this.
Actually, he probably is.
Okay. Okay. Agenda item number 6 is to receive and potentially vote on a field trip request to Atlanta, Georgia for the LRTC Skills USA National Conference. I believe we have Director Rob Callahan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I am pleased to be here tonight to seek your permission for our Skills USA national competitors, many of whom you met, I think, 2 or 3 meetings ago, so that they may participate in the National Skills and Leadership Competition in Atlanta. Again, this is a culmination of their work in the Skills USA Career and Technical Association, which, just as a reminder, it's the largest career and technical student organization in the world. And we have a chapter at LRTC that, among other things, works on employability skills, sort of helping students navigate job seeking and job retention skills, not to mention the technical skills that they bring to bear on local competitions, state competitions, which we've talked about, and now national competitions. This is a conference and a leadership experience that we have sent students to in the past and had a really phenomenal result. They will be participating with somewhere around, I think it's about 12,000 students nationally that will compete, but also hear from industry leaders in their chosen areas, get to participate in community service activities, and then also get to see some of the culture of Atlanta. It's not a Red Sox game, but the Braves aren't bad. So we're thrilled to be able to do some things for them to get them to see a little bit of the world. As you can see, there is a price attached. One good outcome from COVID was that in spring of 2020, we had done a bunch of fundraising. We had come before you for permission, and we didn't need to use any of the funds that we had raised then. We didn't travel last year. So we do have a little bit of a war chest to apply to the costs involved. I would also add, shamelessly promoting a May 27th fundraiser we're going to be doing at the Green Ladle with our food truck. And we will be selling some of the awesome t-shirts that you saw from our students, and inviting community members to come in and have lunch to support these students. So we hope the cost to them will be very minimal, but they're out currently doing some fundraising to defray whatever cost there may be. So having said that, I would submit the following permission request to you and invite your questions or comments.
Ms. Bowden.
Thank you. I'm just curious, out of the total cost, how much do you need to raise?
So this will work out to somewhere in the neighborhood of about $1,600 or $1,700 per student. My guess is after our fundraiser, and this is a guess, that they'll be looking at $300 or so, maybe $400, hopefully less, but it just depends on how many, if it's a nice day and it could be $100 if we have a line out the door, which we hope that's the case.
Ms. Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Director Callahan, are you going to be, so you've been great about posting on social media, by
Yes.
the way, which is phenomenal. This
Yes.
will be on social media that we can all share.
Oh, yes.
And may I recommend that you also, if there's a way that you could email, share it with the city council too, so that we can also share it online with others. I would appreciate that.
That suggestion is very much appreciated and we'll make it happen for
Great.
sure.
Yeah, thank you. I was just looking at the associated risks. I had to chuckle, I mean, when I saw tripping and choking. But I think those are just obvious. But I was looking at, because they're staying at a hotel, I did Google the hotel and I didn't see that there was a pool there. So swimming, anything like that, it would not be something that would be a risk, correct?
Right. We
Okay.
that is not an activity we're going to
Perfect.
have students participating in.
Thank you.
I think we're really fortunate, Rob, to have this number of kids that actually qualify. The whole LRTC program should be very proud. We are, I am, and the community I know is, and hopefully that they have great success down there. It's a really big operation down there. You said 12,000 students,
Yeah.
more or less.
Yep. And it's incredible. It's supported by a lot of very big name industry employers and equipment providers. So most of the students that will participate leave with a pretty good kit bag of tools and takeaways that they will bring back from those employers. So it's pretty awesome.
It's great.
It's not a ruckus, but it's close.
That's because you didn't invite Linda. That's what.
If we invited Miss Scott, it would be a ruckus. We'll remember that for next year.
There you go. That being said, is there any other questions or I need a motion? The motion would be to approve this field trip.
So moved.
Approve, motion by Ms. Parks,
Second.
seconded by Ms. Bowden. Is there any discussion from the committee? Seeing none. We're here, so I guess it's just a show of hands. All in favor? That is 7-0. So
Thank you.
thank you
very
Rob,
much.
and
Good luck to the
thank
group.
Paul for his efforts as well in getting this organized. Good luck. And please let us know if, how the fundraising goes off before the kids leave. Okay? Thank you. Thank you.
Just quickly, Director Callahan, before you go, when is your fundraiser with the food truck again? Are you going to post about that on social media so we can share it? Awesome. Thank you.
Always about the food, always about the food. Okay, so that was Megan and Jan. The next item on the agenda is to review and potentially vote on a first reading of the following policies. BCC, which is nepotism, BDB, which is school committee officers, BEDB, which is agenda preparation and dissemination, BEDD, which is rules of order, BEDH, which is public participation in school committee meetings, and BG, which is school committee policy process. I noted that we had the original ones in the packet, and then there was some markups, and then it looked like there was some markups of the markups. So we start with the first one, nepotism, see if there are questions or comments on that one. Seeing none, we can move on to, actually, I guess we can take these one at a time. We don't need to vote on these separately, right? This is a first reading. We can vote on them as a block if there's no. Makes sense? Okay. So the next one is the school committee officers. I did note there was a note in there about parliamentarian, which was still an open thing that we haven't done yet this year, but it hasn't come up much, so. I don't think it was voted. I think we turned to her because of her vast experience for. No, we're trying not to create a ruckus, yes. Any comments or, yes, Megan?
On that subject, I know that our procedural rules say that the chair may appoint a parliamentarian, but it's not a requirement. So I don't, if we want one, I think we'd all kind of agreed that it would be Linda, but I don't know if it requires a vote or if we just say it's her or. I don't.
It does say that the appointment shall be subject to committee approval, so probably should just make it official if you feel like it, you need to. I guess I would agree with Megan, if I mean, if the chair feels that it's necessary to appoint one, then we probably should do a full vote.
It hasn't come up this term as much as last term, so I'm okay with leaving it like it is for now. If it becomes an issue, we can always bring it up at a later date. So if everyone else is okay, Ms. Wiswell.
Yeah, and I think there was, we had a policy committee meeting tonight, and I feel like there was something that I read tonight that in a different policy that states that even though we might have a parliamentarian, that person isn't the end all be all. It's the chair that really decides that. So, you know, there's still already those checks and balances there.
BEDB, agenda preparation and dissemination. This one seemed pretty straightforward to me. Ms. Paquette.
So I'll just add, on this one, this was a little bit out of date. It wasn't up to, wasn't meeting our available technology platforms at this point in our previous policy. So we added, the biggest change is that the agenda is available on the website. And not just at the superintendent's office. I mean, there's lots of other things in here. You can see red, but just for everyone's knowledge, that was probably the biggest change that was made to this policy.
Thank you, Karen. Any discussion beyond that? BEDD, rules of order. It's pretty much just reinforces that Robert's rules is the order of the.
It does say what committee member Whitlow had said, that specifically the chair will rule on all questions pertaining to parliamentary procedures that may arise during a public meeting of the committee. My only question is, when I read this, I generally understand things in red to be something new, but we already had this word in there. Is that correct, or did I miss something here? Because it looks like the original wording is no different unless I missed a word or something from the second one. No, I know, but if you go back to the first one where it's the original is supposed to be the rules of order, and then the second one is the one with the red is supposed to be the final. I didn't see a difference in them. I was just curious.
One that's the clean copy is actually not the policy that's in the policy manual. That I believe that was a mistake. It was the clean version of the new proposed one.
So this is this is definitely the one where I saw then. I didn't know where I had seen the parliamentary being advisory only.
The next one is BEDH, is public participation at school committee meetings. Looked pretty much like what we're doing. And the last one is BG, the school committee policy process. And I believe that's why we have the policy subcommittee. So if everyone is okay with that, I guess we would need a motion to accept these as presented in this version as a first reading.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Bowden,
I'll second.
seconded by Ms. Medina. Any further discussion about these items? Seeing none, all in favor? That is 7-0. Thank you, everyone. And thank you to the policy committee and Ms. Paquette for working on this. This is, some of this stuff is a little bit dry going, but it's important that we keep them up and keep going on them. How many total are there, Karen? About 797?
Feels like that. I think it's closer to something, but.
It's two something, okay. It just is more, it looks more daunting, right? The next item on the agenda is a report from the school committee chair. I really don't have much. We are getting nearer to the end of school, fortunately. I think we've got, we've got some important stuff coming in the next month, between recognizing the top 10 students, between the LRTC stuff and graduation on the 9th, 10th, Friday the 10th, I believe. Graduation Friday the 10th, I think. I don't know, I can't, at 7.
June 10th, 7 p.m.
At the field.
At the field. With the Colisee as a backup.
The Colisee is the backup. We have that committed now. Great. That in case of rain, it never rains on graduation, right? It has several times. I had 3 that went through here, and it rained 2 out of the 3. So it does happen. So other than that, I guess I'll turn it over to the superintendent for his report.
Just a few things from me. We did a moment of silence earlier for Emmy Rawls, who passed. But just to say a little more, and we want to reach out to her family, but Emmy was in the sophomore class, had a lot of friends, and it really hit a lot of people pretty hard. And so I want to just send my best wishes and prayers out to Emmy's family, who's been incredibly strong through a very rare immune disease, and also complicated by leukemia. Remember, Bowden, there was a fundraiser recently. How much was raised at that?
There was a benefit dinner at the Green Ladle last Friday night, and we were able to raise over $11,000 for her family.
That's great. That's great. It probably won't touch the bills that they have fighting the diseases, but our thoughts are with them. I also have, if you saw in the news that there was, we're still looking into the details, but someone passed at Smalls Falls. That was a parent of students of ours, 3 students here in our schools. We have reached out. We have looked for ways to support what looks like, I don't want to overshare, but it looks like potentially a transition for those students to live with a family member. Tomorrow we have a referendum So that's a big deal. And so hopefully that the vote on the budget goes well and we can begin our planning aggressively for next year. Some other things just to share, there's a Touch a Truck event coming up on the 21st of May. We have a lot of things coming up. A lot of our students really enjoy that activity where they get to go and climb on and go through a number of vehicles, big and small. And we'll keep mentioning, but the food truck fundraiser is on the 27th of May. I told Rob I would share it, even though he shared it also. So just a few things for me, just updates. I think what I'd like to do with the chair's permission is to mention something that we skipped earlier due to timing. Mr. Terry, would you mind going up to the podium? We have a number of really challenging, complicated questions for you about technology. No, we wanted to take some time to say thank you. Genuinely thank you. I remember when I first started teaching, there was this guy down the hall from me. His name was Mr. Terrio. Even I called him Mr. Even though as a colleague, because Dave was an instant leader to me. I watched him develop a program to teach and coach people through what it was to use computers at all, to just use computers. Dave has been on the cutting edge of technology and a leader in our district for my entire career, and I'm sure it extends beyond that. But then he led through a pandemic where decisions were made to pass out devices that had maybe money behind them and then a lot of money behind them from a federal perspective. And someone had to manage, order, track, invoice, you name it, from top to bottom. And then when everything got here, someone had to open them up, get them in a case, get them programmed and aligned to our network, our students' abilities, filtering laws, permissions, you name it. I could go on and on about the work that Dave has led in our district and our community, but he's also a coach. He's an official. I get a little emotional about it, Dave, sorry. You've meant a lot, and you will, even beyond today. Thank you so much for all your years of service. We really can't thank you enough. A true professional. If I land, excuse me, doing half the things you've done in your career, I consider it a success. So really, thank you. I think Karen wants to add.
I wanted to go first, so you didn't do that to me. So I just reiterate, Dave, what Jake said. You really had to do this. I can remember starting my position at the district level. And at the time, Bill Webster was a superintendent and Dave was still working at the high school. And Bill came to me and said, Dave Terrio would like you to be his mentor for the Aspiring Leaders program. And I thought he was mistaken because there was no way that Dave Terrio wanted me to be his mentor, because it should have been the opposite. But I happened to be in a district level position before Dave was in a district level position. And so I knew Dave before that, but I didn't really know him as well as I do now. And it sort of started with our meetings during that time. And at that point, who would have thought that we would be in the positions we're in now, right, Dave? From former students to former colleagues to your current colleagues and peers, we're going to miss you.
Turn your mic on.
See, what that guy's forgetting. You got me choked up a little bit here. So no, I look back on 40 years and it's been as I look at it, a great partnership. Lewiston Public Schools gave me a job and gave me a salary to buy a house, bring up my family, and all of those things. And,
I tried to work really hard as well to kind of make that partnership work. And after 40 years, I can honestly say it's been a wonderful journey. I enjoyed my years in the classroom. It was a really, really tough call to leave the classroom and get into the technology realm, but I had a niche there, or a little bit of an itch to see what would move forward with. And then I never would have dreamed that I'd be finishing my career as the director of instructional technology. I'm been truly blessed. It's really the people I've met along the way that I think is really the part I'm going to miss the most. The kids, staff, all the connections I've made. I'll miss that considerably. I do feel really comfortable leaving, knowing the people I have on my staff and the people that have worked for me. And I know that Lewiston Public Schools is in great shape with the people on my staff. I can't say enough about Lucas and, Abner and Mark and all the people, all my tier ones and so forth. I could go on, but suffice to know that they all have a very special place in my heart because they've worked very hard. So thank you. And I'll miss Lewiston Public Schools, but I'll start a new chapter in my life. So thank you.
Ms. Scott.
Thank you. So last week, Teacher Appreciation Week, I made a very huge post on social media, and I recognized the teachers that made a difference in my life. And you were one of them. You were just out of college, you were a freshman. I was a total dork about history and government. And you came in, and your enthusiasm for education and your enthusiasm for teaching really affected me. And it really affected my decision to go on and learn more about education and do the things that I did in my life. And then later on, many, many years later, when I became a school board member and I saw your dedication to our whole system, not just as a teacher to our students, but to our whole district and everybody in Lewiston, I couldn't be more impressed. And so I want to thank you personally as a former student, as somebody that's been a school committee member for many years. Thank you for all that you've done. You're going to be a hard person to replace, but you've made a memorable difference to many.
No,
and I'm included. Thank you.
Dave, on behalf of the school committee, and I hope no one takes offense to my taking this, we can't thank you enough for the late nights and for this whole pandemic dilemma that we went through. If it hadn't been for you, I don't know where we would have ended up. And I know it took a lot of dedication and it took an awful lot of your own time to do that. But thank you. I never had you as a teacher, although a couple of my kids did. And, obviously, the entire district has benefited from your service. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
What Karen was going to say is that she told me this earlier when I asked her, she wrote a speech. She was going to say something to the effect of, it's rare that people work as long as they do in an organization and leave it better than when they came. And you did. So thank you.
That's not what I thought you were going to say. I was like, no, I didn't say whatever he's going to say.
Our student rep is not here tonight, so we'll skip that. Updates from school committee subcommittees. Oh, well, yes. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Ms. Scott. I did miss that. My eyesight fails me as usual. City council rep.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So actually, you probably could have skipped me tonight because I forgot my notes at home. But I did remember a couple of things. So I did want to bring up that the mayor did recognize at our last meeting, Kristen Little, the Student of the Year at Lewiston Regional Tech Center. And I really appreciate the mayor really going above and beyond and making sure to recognize our students at each of his meetings. It's not something that I've seen in the past, and I think it's really a great thing. I also want to bring up that at the beginning of the year, the mayor did make the request to Lewiston students for arts in residence, for somebody that's a musician in residence, a writer in residence, an artist in residence. And we have now received several applications. And he asked me to be part of the application committee. And on May 23rd, we're going to be doing interviews with all of those students so that we can name some of those positions by the end of the year. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I'm really looking forward to meeting these students. And then one thing I did remember, and the only reason I remembered it was because I happened to keep the papers in my bag with all my other stuff, is that the city council did go through and talk about a new public art policy recommendations and considerations. And this is something that will be moving forward. There's a lot of work still to be done on it, and I'll keep you posted. But my personal opinion, public art is a huge piece of economic development and growing our community. And I would encourage anybody with any sort of information, wants information or be part of this process, to please reach out, because I think this is going to be a big deal. And that's all I have right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Scott. Okay. We'll skip over the student rep again and updates from subcommittees. Facilities, I'll touch on facilities. We do have some meetings upcoming. We don't have much at the moment, but we're moving forward on a couple of different initiatives. Mr. Grant and Mr. Bro are working on several things. So, Ms. Ames.
Paul Beauparlant can't be here. He's chair of the curriculum committee, but he asked me to speak to you about what we've been doing. Today was one of the days. Every few weeks, we have a day where we spend all day planning. So today was planning English language or language arts. And we've been doing social studies alternately with language arts. So we spent the day from 8 to 2:30 doing that today. I think the plan is for next year to get things very much in line so the following year it's implemented. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Pretty much on both fronts.
The standards wouldn't really come into play for reporting and all of that until the following year.
Following year, exactly. Yeah. So we're planning way in advance, but we're doing it very systematically. And thank you, Sue.
Janet, do you have anything from finance?
Yes, so we haven't had another finance meeting since before we voted on the budget. We do have another one scheduled coming up though tomorrow. Yep. So we'll meet again tomorrow. We did have another meeting for the 6th to 8th grade concept. I'm so sorry about my voice if this is like hard to hear. And the middle school principal, Mr. Thurlow, attended that meeting. And it was just Jake and Mr. Thurlow and I. And it went really good. We had some great ideas were thrown around with the kind of talking about forming 2 different middle schools with a sort of LRTC feel to them, like academy style. So there were a lot of great ideas that happened, and we're looking forward to meeting again and getting more stakeholders involved as well as community members. So yeah, that's where we're at with that. Thank you.
Ms. Whitlow?
Okay, so negotiations, we have mediation May 31st for the certified professionals, teachers contract. We have put dates. We have a date of May 24th. Oh, that's new. That must have just ed techs for the negotiations on May 24th. May 25th, we have the food service workers, and May 26th, we have the food service managers. So we've got a lot of contracts coming up. So those are just the initial first meeting. So we've got a lot going on. And you received all those notifications. Okay, great. And what else? Policy committee, we are meeting regularly, going through a lot of that. I do have to say that Elizabeth Eames has been amazing in these policy committees. It must be great to be retired, but you work constantly. So no, she's been great. She goes through these policies like, you know, so detailed. So it's been great. Dyslexia Subcommittee. We have another one on Wednesday. A couple weeks ago, Karen, Miss Paquette and I met our first meeting with the statewide dyslexia stakeholders committee meeting, and that was fantastic. They had put together surveys for teachers. There was results that came back. They're going to give us some more details on that, like with the interviews that they've done with teachers. It's very clear, like what our teachers are needing and wanting as far as education, to know more about dyslexia and how to help our students. And they also talked about assistive technology in that. And I just want to say, like, one of the things that, like, I never really knew about, but I think really could have helped my child was one of those pen readers. It looks like a highlighter and you just go over the words, and it reads to you. You can have earbuds in and you can hear it. And so just learning about that stuff, and I'm going to be a part of that assistive technology. I'm going to be a part of that, one of those groups. So I'll be able to bring information back to the board, so that we can talk about, like, what other stuff, not just for dyslexics, but for other students that have different disabilities, and what can help them, especially. I think one of the things is if we don't have enough staff or to help students in certain ways, the technology can assist. And that's going to be a huge piece, I think, for this district to really understand and learn more about. So I'm excited about that. So I think that's it for mine.
Ms. Bowden.
Thank you. I don't know if this is appropriate, but back to negotiations for a moment. I just want to acknowledge all of the emails that I've gotten from the various educators in our district. I have not responded to them because I'm not a part of the negotiations that they're discussing with us, but I just want to say thank you to the teachers for taking the time and writing these emails. I've actually found them very fascinating, and I just want you guys to know that I appreciate you and all the hard work that you're doing. So thank you.
Ms. Parks.
I was going to wait until the future agenda items, but maybe since Ms. Bowden brought it up, if it's possible, I know we can't discuss actual things that are happening in negotiations, but if it's possible at a future meeting in the near future to get like an overview of what like the steps are and things like that to negotiations so that we can understand it better. I've been doing this for several years, but I've never been involved in negotiations. And with all of those emails we've been receiving, there's a lot of pieces of it that I am finding I don't even fully understand. So I can't necessarily respond to people, even if I wanted to, because I don't fully understand the process. So if we can have like a non-specific overview of the different steps and how things happen. And I know one of the big touching points, sticking points right now is the stipends that were offered, but then they think they're being revoked. And if we could just sort of get the history of that stuff, I think that would be really helpful for us to understand.
I think once we get into mediation, we'll be able to identify and clarify the items that are still in contention. And I think that would be the time for us to bring it forward. I think right now it'd probably be more confusing than clarifying right at the moment. We could do an executive session to touch on some of the things that are in discussion, but until we're through this mediation piece, I think it would be best to just keep it
Yeah, and
at
I'm not
that
asking
level.
specifics that are actually tied into this negotiation, but just understanding the process as a whole,
Yeah,
I think would be helpful.
I think that there's a fair amount of confusion on both sides. Anything else? I agree. We will be bringing back the results of the negotiations for approval anyway at some point, but we certainly can do a quick overview of where we're at some point, maybe at the next meeting or something. We can schedule that as an agenda item. Maybe. Ms. Whitlam.
I was just thinking that if we wanted to, I mean, I don't know, this is like, I don't know if maybe people want to weigh in, but I don't know why we couldn't suspend the rules to talk about something in executive session. Because it's nothing that the public needs to know about anyways for certain specific things related to that. So I don't know, I don't want to suspend the rules without talking to people, but we could, if everybody wants to have an understanding of some things that could happen. I don't know.
I, for one, am not in favor of suspending the rules. If we want to bring it as an item to our executive session, I think we schedule it. That way we can come prepared and everybody could have some, would be ready for it.
Yeah, what I was asking for doesn't necessarily need to be an executive session. I'm not asking for like a deep dive into the dirty details of it all. Just sort of an overview understanding, I think, would be helpful for myself and probably for some members of the community and people who are maybe school staff but aren't involved as closely with negotiations. Nothing specific into the contract details, but just something that's public friendly.
I think that's a great future agenda item. We'll make note of it and try to bring it forward soon. We already touched on some of the community announcements, the Green Ladle on the 27th, the Touch a Truck, which was the 21st. Others folks have? Ms. Medina.
So I sent you guys an email about the bulky waste spring cleanup in the tree streets. So I just wanted to just mention that again today. So Healthy Neighborhoods, and with the support of the city of Lewiston, is going to be having a waste spring cleanup event. We're going to be shutting down Bartlett Street between Walnut and Pine Street to create a transfer station. And we're asking residents to bring out their trash by 6 p.m. on 5/12, not on the sidewalk, not on the street, and not in the driveway. This is May 13th and 14th that the event is happening, and we do need volunteers. So Thursday, we need volunteers from 2 to 5, Friday, 7 a.m. to 4 p.m., and Saturday, 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. Everybody that volunteers gets a really cool shirt. It's brick red. It says Love and Lou. It's long sleeve. It's really cool. You know all about it. And there's going to be different opportunities for volunteering, whether that's directing traffic, making signs, helping with setup and cleanup, greeting volunteers, and other things to make it go smoothly. There'll also be free plants, snacks, music. This is going to be the second time we've done this, and the first time it was a lot of fun. And I know it kind of sounds crazy, like what's fun about picking up trash, but it really is, because it feels good. People work together, and it's something to give back. So I just wanted to let everybody know, if you want to sign up as well, there is a volunteer sheet at the Healthy Neighborhoods event Facebook page. So yeah, and then I also send it to you guys too. But yep, thank you.
Ms. Scott.
Thank you. So yes, I will be volunteering, and I will also be donating some of my tomato seedlings to the events for those that might want to plant some of those. But I did have another community announcement. So today, we got notification from the rec director that Lewiston Recreation has scheduled a lifeguard certification class at Ywca. This is a 3-day course that will be over the Memorial Day weekend. And for any of students that may have applied to work at the Kennedy Park pool, this is going to be paid to them for free. So I'm going to share the certification course with all of you so that if you know of any students that we're looking into that, because we are still looking for a few more to possibly work at the pool, but I'll share that with you also, that you can disseminate it as you might see fit. Thank you.
Linda, can you remind us when the pool's going to open? Is that after school?
I believe it was the week of the 18th is what they were looking. It was a week after school was done. because I tried to see if we could get it a week early, but they couldn't because of some of the training that they're doing and other stuff to get people ready to be, and some of the students that might be graduating that want to do that, giving them time for the training. So but I believe it's like a week after school's done. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know that the LRTC had posted on their Facebook page about looking for summer help. I think I don't know how long they've been doing this, but during the summer they look for students who want to work full time, helping out with painting, mowing lawns. So I think it says work is 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Monday through Friday from June 27th to August 5th, $12.75 an hour, must be 16 years old. So Jake, do you know who they would reach out to? Would that be the director?
Yeah, they could start with Director Callahan's office. We've been doing this for a number of years. Many years ago, Bill and I actually were some of the first teachers of that program. But unless they change the name, it's Summer Youth, and we bring students in as long as they're of age, and they get trained with some light safety, some light construction and maintenance work. But they also do interview practice, resume writing, and things of that nature. So it's a built-in experience that when they walk away, they've made a little money, but they're also ready for whatever might be next for them. So we've had a lot of success with it. Last summer, when we were short on some other things, we actually brought that group back late to help our schools get prepared for opening, and they all came back and were willing to help. It was a good project.
I think tomorrow's an important day. We should probably tell the community to get out and vote tomorrow. I'm surprised it hasn't said, but
I would concur.
Okay.
Tomorrow is the day to go to Longley School and vote in support of the school budget, and for sure. I mean, we fought hard to get it where it needs to be. I think the city council recognized that. Thank you, Ms. Scott, for all of your efforts there. And hopefully we're successful. I think we will be. I think we got beyond that controversy better than maybe some of us had feared. So, anything else from others? I think the next item on the agenda would be to have a motion to go into executive session.
I think it's future agenda items first. I know we talked about it lightly.
I'm
but
sorry, future agenda item. Oh, I kind of thought we were, okay. Yep, future agenda items.
I did write down the negotiations process in the minutes.
Ms. Whitlow.
I don't even know why I want to say this, but I want to have a discussion about the 1 through 4 grading system. That's all I'm going to say, but at some point I feel like there needs to be more of a discussion, and I don't know what's being said in curriculum and done in curriculum, if anything, but I know at this point we've worked through some things. There's still a disconnect with parents and students. And I think it deserves another look and another discussion. Not saying it's wrong, just saying we need to be talking about it. Sorry, Jake.
Do you want me to put salt on that wound?
Yes.
I had a question. I had something I don't know the answer to, and I hope someone has it. If we have students who are not succeeding in 9th grade, 10th grade, or 11th grade, and they are not on a track to make it, to have sufficient number of credits to graduate as seniors, is there a policy to to hold them in a position so that they have time to assemble those credits, even if it means an extra year at the high school, so that they don't necessarily jump ahead just because they've been there an extra year. I mean, I would think that I don't know what the answer to that is, but is it credit-based is how they move forward? You know, if we have a student that has just missed an awful lot because of the pandemic, supposed to be in ninth grade, hasn't accumulated any credits, then are we going to throw them into 10th grade because they were in ninth grade last year? Or do they have to earn their way in there?
So there's a lot of layers to this, and I have some strong feelings about it. High schools, Lewiston and many others, for forever have taken kids in their second year and called them sophomores, have taken kids in their third years and called them juniors, taken kids in their fourth year and called them seniors. I have a fundamental issue with it. So I'm not coming from a place of research. I'm coming from a place of just my lived experience and how I always felt about that. There's a few problems with it, though. One being resources. So if you have a grade 9 student not have success in grade 9, we don't hold kids back, if that makes sense, or retain them in ninth grade. Part of the resource challenge to that, there's multiple layers to this, but one of the resource challenges, we only have so many teachers available to teach ninth grade. And so if you withhold all of those students, you start to create this backlog of students. So we do have a lot of pathways to supports, Ice Week, Mud Week. Actually, right now with seniors, they're doing Saturdays. So seniors who have been hit hard by the pandemic or other things are actually reporting on Saturday mornings to Lewiston High School and getting extra support so they can make it to graduation. There's also summer school, which is credit recovery based. So there's a lot of pathway support pieces. But to your point, Mr. Chair, we have students that are juniors in high school who have not really engaged in the educational process for whatever reason. And they go to assemblies with juniors, they call themselves a junior, but in fact, when you look at their credits and their academic record, they're not juniors. We've tried to steer that in other ways with policy around athletics. You have to have so many credits to be eligible to play, and that motivates some portion of the students, but we still have a large portion of students, and I think we're seeing this more now with the pandemic impacts, that are just not engaging, but they're here lots of days. They have good attendance. They'll follow the bell schedule, but they're not achieving the credits. And so we're trying to bridge those gaps and get students re-engaged. But I would love to explore ways to say, I don't want to sound punitive, but from a natural consequence perspective of this isn't because you're in trouble. This is because you weren't able to achieve at that level at that time. We want to support you in that space. But it doesn't make sense to take 11th grade level math or 11th grade level English papers, writing research when you didn't do 9th grade or 10th grade. It really sets up a big structure of how do we get kids to that place. I often hear too from some of our teachers who I think are some of the best people that we have that say, kids don't have the skills they need. We're graduating them because there's just so many kids coming through and you support them and they get extra supports and extra supports and extra supports that eventually something gets turned in that is gradable. But people at times wonder, what am I grading? Am I grading the students' work and the students' knowledge and the skills that they have, or something else? And so that was a long-winded answer to, I think, a question you asked, but I have always had concerns about students just being pushed along. And you get to a place where grades are inflated or inaccurate, and you just kind of keep nudging kids through. But that's why I get so passionate about pathways.
Ms. Bowden.
Thank you. So for a future agenda item, this actually came up in our 6-8 concept thing. And I just think it's worth discussing as a committee, a way to somehow provide LRTC services or the program to freshmen and sophomores at Lewiston High School, especially if we're looking into somehow incorporating it into a middle school. We don't want to drop the kids for 2 years. out of the program or out of whatever career path that they're going towards. So I think it's important that we really start to take a look at how we start engaging 9th and 10th graders into that program, where they're so competitive, where the numbers to join these programs are so small. And there's, especially this year, I mean, I've heard of so many students that applied that didn't get in to the program that they wanted. And, you know, I know not everybody can do it, but it would be great if we could start offering it all 4 years and perhaps find a way to even just have like an intro class to get them started into it before they hit into the heavy stuff their junior and senior year where there are age restrictions. I just think it's something that we should be looking into as a committee. So if we could add that in, that'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I know that there was an email that I think most of us saw a week or so ago about a question about number of credits. You know, I know that we have adjusted the number of credits for graduation due to the pandemic. I'm assuming we're adjusting them back to more of what is, and it's just, that was kind of where that came from, is if, you know, if we have students that just are not going to be able to get there because they're so far behind on the number of credits that they've accumulated, you know, how do we help that? I mean, that's the whole idea here is really to make sure these kids, when they do graduate, do have some skills and have something a foundation to move forward with their lives. And I think that it's a challenge, a huge challenge. I think the pandemic has just accentuated every point where the kids can fail. It just extended it exponentially. And, you know, I'm worried about these next couple of years as well, because I think kids are already behind. Ms. Eames.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate that for the first 3 or 4 meetings we had on the future agenda items, I kept putting that on. And so I really would appreciate it coming back to us before the end of this year. Thanks.
So a while back I'd mentioned if there was a possibility we could educate students on what the school committee does so they can learn how to advocate for themselves. I just hope that we can revisit that. I think it'll be really powerful, but also, you know, parents don't know and kids can go back to their parents and be like, hey, we could do this. Did you know that this happened? So I just was hoping we can put that on a future agenda item.
Okay. Some great ideas. We'll work on it. Now that we're through budgets, anything else for future agenda items? Anybody wants to? Okay. On that note, we'd need a motion to go into, we have 2 executive sessions scheduled. Both of them are under 1 MRSA 4056E. They have to do with legal matters. There will be no votes or anything coming out of that. So once we enter into executive session, we won't be coming back.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so it's moved by Ms. Parks and second by Ms. Whitlow. All in favor? We are in executive session.